Something I just recently started doing is something called the weekly reset. It's turned into one of the most important things I do every week. It's basically just a checklist helping me prepare for the week ahead and reset the week I just had. It sounds like such a simple thing, but this one little habit has turned into something I cannot live without. In this video, I'll be showing you my personal weekly reset that I go through every single Sunday. Hi there, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Maneetpaul Singh. On this channel, we talk about tech and how to use it to get things done. And checklists, believe it or not, are a very effective way of getting things done, especially those things that you do more than once every so often. Like I mentioned a second ago, our brains are really bad at remembering things. That's why I love using checklists. The weekly reset is something I go through to help me do the things that I always need to do every single week, but usually forget about doing. So let's start at the top over here, okay? The first thing I have on my weekly reset is the reflect section. And the reflect section is purely to let me reflect on the week I just had. I love recapping all the things I got done, all my major accomplishments, anything that's notable, that's a highlight. I like to write those things down. This makes it a lot easier at the end of the month and end of the year, where I want to do a full-on monthly review or annual review. I have these weekly check-ins where I can see the things I've gotten done on a week-by-week basis. Alongside my accomplishments, I also like to capture the things I want to improve on from the previous week. So let me show you actually how I do this. In my template over here on the top, my reflection is always in the properties on the top over here. This is because I can embed them and easily skim through them in a database view later on. But I just enter in my accomplishments, what worked well, and then what can be improved. Things to improve on are mostly meant for task management, workflow related things. Sometimes I try rearranging my schedule or doing things in a different way. And if things work well, I put them in the work well section. If they don't work well, I put them in the can be improved section. Once I finish my reflection from the past week, I then move on to the Get Organized section over here. And the Get Organized section is really just going through all my inboxes. There are a lot of them, which I'll talk about in 1 second, and just organizing all my information. I always put all my thoughts in different apps, different inboxes, and I use this day on Sunday to organize everything where they're supposed to be. Let me give you an example. There's one app that I use called Drafts, and the first thing on this checklist over here is review and clear the Drafts inbox. Drafts is basically an app I use my Apple Watch or my phone. I can just write notes randomly using the voice dictation on my watch or typing it into the app. I prefer this app over the built-in Notes app, and I always put in random things in here, to-dos or random notes I'm thinking about, and every Sunday I go through this Drafts app and organize all my notes. Sometimes they're just mental notes I delete from the app, but other times they're things I want to move into my to-do list, which is a separate app, or things into my Notion, which again is a separate app. I just go through and empty out the Drafts inbox. The next thing on my checklist over here is the Notion inbox. This is purely for content creation. I have an inbox dedicated to my Notion content calendar. Whenever I'm browsing Twitter or any other YouTube video or any website, and I come across something that sounds interesting that I might want to turn into a piece of content, like a YouTube video or an Instagram post or a newsletter, I just save it into my Notion inbox. Then every Sunday I go through and I pick out the good ideas and actually put them in my backlog of ideas that'll eventually turn into actual videos or pieces of content down the road. The last inbox I have on my checklist over here is my Things inbox. I actually have a full review video for Things, which I'll leave a link for somewhere on the screen right now. That video will go through my Things system for organizing all my tasks. It's a task management app, and I always put in random to-dos in my inbox and Things. Then every Sunday I go through and actually organize them on assigning them to the right day or the right category so they're not just sitting in the inbox. And the last thing I like to do in this Get Organized section is deleting everything on my desktop, downloads, and emptying out the trash. This is a personal habit that I've been picking up. I really enjoy doing this. I used to be someone who cluttered my desktop with screenshots after screenshots, random folders. It just got so messy. This one habit of just clearing out your desktop and your downloads folder and then emptying the trash, it just brings a sense of mental clarity to your digital workspace. I really recommend this habit if you haven't already tried it. The next section on my weekly reset is purely dedicated to my email inbox. And what I do here is I go through my Hey email. I don't use Gmail. I switched off of Gmail last year. Hey Email actually lets you make different stacks of emails. So I have a reply later stack, I have a set aside stack, then I have my actual inbox. So I go through every Sunday and clear out my inbox. I either go through and reply to everyone that I have to reply to, or I go through my set aside stack and clear out all the emails that are no longer relevant that I want to save. Everything just gets so much cleaner every Sunday when I do this. This next section of the weekly reset called Do the Little Things, this is something I recommend everyone do at some point. You could customize this to whoever you want. This is what I do every Sunday. I go through and I clean my desk. What I mean by that is I take off my mouse, my keyboard, all the mouse pads and everything like that, and I wipe everything down, all the crumbs from eating food and stuff like that. I just clean my desk very thoroughly every single week. It really helps prepare for the week ahead. Just having a clean desk really makes a big difference. On top of that, I also go through and wipe down my iPad. If you have an iPad, you probably don't clean it very often, or you don't have a set day of the week where you do that. I recommend doing that if you do. Every Sunday I go through with the microfiber cloth and just clean my iPad of all the fingerprints. That small little thing makes a big difference because fingerprints do accumulate over the course of the week. Speaking of wiping things down, I also do that for my Kindle. Using a Kindle, I also have fingerprints accumulate on that, so I wipe that down every week. I also charge my Kindle every Sunday as well, so I never run out of battery life. It's never a concern. It's always charged. The battery is supposed to last more than a week, but I never get to zero because I'm always charging it once a week. And the last small little thing I do is charge my water bottle. I have my water bottle right over here. This thing actually comes off as a smart water bottle, and I charge this little puck, so it actually tracks how much water I drink every single week. And again, this thing does last more than a week, but I charge it once a week so the battery never gets to zero. The last thing I do on my weekly reset is the update financials section. I use a software called YNAB, which stands for You Need a Budget. It's a budgeting software that I use, and I completely organize all my finances. I track every single penny that I spend, not just for myself, but for my YouTube expenses. And I have one set up for my parents as well. And I go through that every single week. I import all the new transactions on my credit cards, my bank statements. I just clean that up so I always know how much money I have for each category of my life. Now, the very bottom over here, I have this last section called the end of month section. I only do this at the end of the month. This really does help prepare for the month ahead. I do something called a monthly review. And the first thing I have over here is enter in monthly highlights for the month. And this makes it very easy because I go through the weekly reviews that I've been doing, these weekly resets. As long as I'm keeping up with this habit, all my weekly highlights are already right there for me. So I just take those highlights and input the best ones into the monthly review. And the reason why I do that is at the end of the year, I do an annual review. And if I have all the monthly reviews done, I can very quickly see all my top highlights from the entire year in a very clean database. And the last thing I do on this checklist is assign new projects for the new month. I find that planning 4 weeks at a time for a project is very, very doable. Instead of having a giant list of projects that you want to get done, you pick 2 or 3 of them, you get them done during the month, and you check those off and you assign the next batch for the next month. This is something new I'm trying for this year. So far, it's been working pretty well. Now, if you enjoyed this concept of the weekly reset and the weekly review, I strongly recommend checking out my video about this app I use for daily journaling. I don't keep my daily journal in Notion because it's much more personal, but I do every night before going to sleep write a daily journal entry to capture my thoughts and emotions from the day. Check that video out, link on the screen right now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.